Chapter 9. Not a Goat. Pearl tried to remember everything she and Ben had learned about Maximus Steele. He was a hunter, and he trapped the rain dragon in order to steal one of her horns. According to Dr. Wu, Mr. Steele was extremely dangerous, but she really hadn't told them anything else. "Is he mean enough to hurt a unicorn?" Pearl asked. "He would do anything for a prized horn." Dr. Wu picked up the crumpled note and tossed it into the wastebasket. "But there is no time to discuss that right now. I must visit the Unicorn King and find out what exactly has happened." "Good luck," Ben said. "Oh, please take us with you," Pearl pleaded. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. She had to go. "Oh, we can help." "I don't think." Dr. Wu paused, and then she pressed her fingers together and gazed at Pearl. "In any other situation, I would be hesitant. Mr. Tabby has not yet trained you in certain procedures, but in the case of a unicorn, Pearl, you might be of great value." "Really?" Pearl beamed. While the Kelpie preferred Ben's scent, unicorns prefer the company of young girls. In fact, only a young girl can summon a unicorn. "Hey!" Ben cried. Violet had found the yellow knitted hat in his back pocket and was nibbling on the yarn. He pulled it free. "How come you keep eating my clothes?" She just blinked rapidly. "I can't help myself, little darling. I just love to eat." "Goats like to eat everything," Pearl said. "I saw a show once where a goat was eating a tin can. Am I right?" She smiled and then realized that Dr. Wu and Violet were looking at her as if she had just said the most horrid thing in the world. Violet put her hands on her hips and scowled. "I am no goat," she said huffily. "I am a satirist. Goats are simple domesticated creatures from the known world. I am a descendant from a Greek demigod, not a farm animal." She grabbed a bag of ivy and began chewing on a vine. "Sorry," Pearl said. She hadn't meant to insult anyone. Dr. Wu cleared her throat. "I must attend to the unicorns. Violet, while I am collecting my supplies, please have the apprentices watch the portal training movie." She began to walk toward the stairwell. "We have to watch a training video?" Pearl complained. "That sounds so boring. Can't we just kind of learn on the job? My dad says that's the best way to learn." "Will we be back by 3? Ben asked. "My grandfather wants me home because he's making brisket for dinner. It's his favorite." "I will make every effort to return you by 3 o'clock, Dr. Wu said, and then she left the 10th floor, the door closing behind her. Pearl poked Ben's arms. "If we're late, we won't have to go to Victoria's awards ceremony, and I would rather feed sardines to that Kelpie downstairs than watch someone put a crown on Victoria's big bloated head." Violet wiped a few bits of green leaf from her mouth and then motioned with her hand. "Follow me, little darlings." A side door opened into a room that looked exactly like a miniature theater. 6 red velvet chairs sat in a row facing a white screen. The walls and the ceiling were painted black. An old-fashioned projector stood in the back of the room. "Wow," Ben said as he looked at the contraption. The film was wound onto one reel which fed through the projector and then onto a second reel. "This is really, really old." "Have a seat," Violet said, her hooves clicking and clacking as she walked up to the projector. Pearl and Ben chose the 2 middle seats. Even though the hospital theater was small, it was so much better than the one in Buttonville, where the seats leaked stuffing and the metal springs poked into your back. The old popcorn machine always overcooked the kernels so that you had to spit out the very burned bits. That's why the 10th floor was crunchy. That was why the floor was crunchy and sticky at the same time. Violet darkened the room, and then she switched on the projector. A beam of light shot through the lens and onto the screen. "Should we take notes?" Ben asked. "Is there going to be a test?" Pearl groaned. She hated tests. No matter how much time her teacher gave her to study, she always seemed to forget something. "Y'all pay attention. There'll be no need for a test," Violet said. And she left the room, and the movie began. Chapter 10. Portal Training. The movie was black and white and covered in dust and scratches. A whirling tornado appeared on the screen. Fairyland Entertainment presents How to Be Safe When Traveling in the Portal, starring Sasquatch. A narrator began to speak. The voice was high-pitched and squeaky. Hello and welcome. We are here at the portal, have produced this film to help prepare you for interdimensional travel. Our safety record is better than bad, and we want to keep it that way. Better than bad? Pearl and Ben looked at each other. The Sasquatch appeared on the screen. It held a small suitcase and wore a fanny pack around its waist. The narrator continued. Welcome, Mr. Passenger. I see that you have packed for your trip. It is important to be prepared in case your visit runs longer than expected. Extra underwear, toothbrush, and container of water are all good things to bring when you are traveling if something should go wrong and you're stuck there for a day or two or a year. A year? Ben said. He sat up straight. I have to be back by 3. Always double check to make certain you are carrying a vial of fairy dust. It is the only way to summon the portal for the return trip. The Sasquatch reached into its fanny pack and pulled out a vial. It sparkled yellow. Very good. We will now instruct you in the correct order to go into the portal. The camera shot widen to show the Sasquatch standing next to a swirling tornado. The wind rustled the ends of its fur. It is important to walk directly into the portal. Do not run, skip, jump, or this could create a disruption in the magnetic field, causing the portal to hyperextend or collapse upon itself, wreaking havoc on the space-time continuum. Go ahead, Mr. Passenger. Please enter the portal at a steady pace. And the Sasquatch pointed to the tornado. The camera moved up and down as if nodding. The Sasquatch shook his head. Holding a chocolate bar appeared from the side of the screen. Then it tossed the bar into the portal. The Sasquatch smiled and bounded into the wind. Pearl and Ben had learned during their Sasquatch catching adventure that the furry beast loves chocolate. The next scene showed the Sasquatch standing in a calm space, wind swirling at the perimeter. It had set the suitcase at its feet and was happily eating the chocolate bar. Once you have safely gone inside the portal and you have given the captain your destination, you will prepare for takeoff. Most known world beings experience discomfort during travel because the known world beings usually travel in only 3 dimensions, up and down, side to side, and back and forth. The room suddenly moved up and down, side to side, and back and forth, and the Sasquatch looked up from eating and growled. The portal, however, travels in all dimensions at once. Let us show you what we mean. And suddenly the Sasquatch turned into a giant blur, and when it came back into focus, all of its fur was sticking straight up and the suitcase had toppled over. After teetering from side to side, it bared all of its teeth and growled so loud that the camera shook. The Sasquatch reached out and swatted whoever was standing behind the camera, and the screen went black. Pearl frowned, remembering how she had felt a little bit queasy after her first ride. She didn't blame the Sasquatch for getting mad. The movie resumed. There were more instructions about seatbelts, oxygen masks, and not littering inside the portal. It was a weird movie, Pearl said. It beats the one we had to watch in health class, Ben told her. It was called Your Changing Body, and it was all about pimples and BO. Both he and Pearl shuddered. The portal appeared on screen again. This time it was empty except for the chocolate bar wrapper and the suitcase on the floor. This brings us to the most important safety rule of all. Never leave the portal until the captain gives the orders to disembark. There's no knowing where you'll end up. The next shot showed the Sasquatch sitting at the very top of a snow-capped mountain, shivering. But as long as you have your vial of fairy dust, you will be fine. Thank you for your attention, and we hope to see you in the portal. These safety tips were brought to you by the fairies, producers of the original Portal Powering Dust. The end. The film reel made a flapping sound as it spun around and around. Ben hurried to the projector and turned it off. That movie made me feel worse. I mean, what happens if I fall out and you've got the vial? Or if you fall out and I've got the vial? Pearl considered this for a moment. I guess we just have to make sure we don't fall out, Ben. She had been on a dozen rides at the Milkdale Country Fair, including the Whirlatron, the Freaky Frisbee, and the Loop-de-Loop, and she had never fallen out a single one. Besides, we're not going alone like last time. Dr. Wu's coming with us, so we'll be safe. Y'all ready? Violet said, poking her head into the theater. Yep, Pearl said, jumping out of her seat. Y'all excited about your trip? I am totally excited, Pearl said. I'm wondering, Ben shuffled in place, has anyone actually ever fallen out of the portal? Don't you worry, little darling. Dr. Wu will take good care of you. Pearl noticed that Violet hadn't actually answered Ben's question, but that didn't stop her from wanting to go. She would be sure to stand right in the middle. Dr. Wu was waiting outside the theater, her medical bag in hand. Violet blinked rapidly. I'd feel a lot safer if Mr. Tabby were here, she said. My nerves are all a-quiver. Dr. Wu patted Violet's shoulder. Should there be any problems, Metalmouth is in the lobby. After eating a handful of oats, Violet climbed onto her stool and pushed a large yellow button. A clap of thunder sounded in the distance, and then a roar closed in, as if a storm of the century were heading right for the hospital. A small tornado appeared in the center of the 10th floor, so tiny Pearl could hold it in her hand. And then it grew and grew, expanding until it touched the ceiling. Pearl and Ben stepped back as the wind blew across their faces. Fairy dust lifted off the floor, turning the tornado yellow. Pearl wanted to plug her ears, the wind was so loud. Follow me, Dr. Wu ordered. And even though this was the second time that Pearl had stepped into the tornado, it still felt shocking. She expected the wind to pick her up and toss her around like a kite, but she walked right through into the portal. Ben followed and stood next to her. It was too loud to talk, too loud for Pearl to tell him that everything would be okay, that they wouldn't fall out, they wouldn't get lost. They would have another wonderful adventure and be home in time for brisket. Pearl's ponytail came loose and her hair whipped around her neck and cheeks. A blurry image of Violet eating more vines was the last thing she saw before everything went black.